Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for. Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves for people together. Bang, bang, bang.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses EDDIE-FICATION to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through EDDIE-FICATION, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business, improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.eddie-frederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Of course, this is our 206th edition of Edification. And it is Sunday, the 25th of February, 2024. Wow, wow, wow. What a wonderful day it is. Of course, it's kind of hazy because of the Sahara dust. But I'm here to brighten it for you because we have a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about, and a lot of edification, a lot of motivation, and a lot of inspiration to take in. But of course, we're going to be doing it in my unfiltered way of delivery because these days call for shock treatment. We have too many mud pigs running around the place, making a lot of noise in an effort to dirty up the place. So we have to see how we can keep it clean. Folks, sure trust you had a better January and February this year than, of course, you're accustomed to having in previous years. Of course, business owners complain from time to time that things are slow, January and February. Some of them behave as if, well, they're not even conscious of the fact that people had a lot of holiday spending. There was no limit, and there was a don't care, nonchalant attitude towards spending in December. So what do you expect in January and February? Hello, gru season. Things must be hard. The real beginning of this new year for spending, starting to spend again, that is, and to be a little bit more comfortable, starts in March. Folks, we're about to enter March, and March is going to be better. This is the new transformative thinking based on reality that we need to adopt if we are to really navigate successfully through life's often rocky paths. Come on, folks, share the live, share the live. Tag your friends, and let's get some people in here because we have a lot of shaking of the bully to do today. Our topic for today's discussion is so interesting. Your choice will influence the outcome of your destiny. And nobody has that power to choose for you. Your choice will influence the outcome of your destiny. So stop complaining about the life you choose. Folks, if you decide you're going down the road, you're looking for somebody, and you see a fork in the road with 3 different outlets. You're looking for somebody. You would never find them by just standing there, you know. You see, just standing there and not proceeding, you have made the choice not to find that person. So stop blaming people for you not knowing where to go. Hey, you got to make a choice. You see, as I always will tell you, because I am not in the market for friends, my strong personality trait, to tell it as I see it, will always be alive. I love where I live, and of course my own company. And therefore do not have to go anywhere to be accepted, because I have accepted all of myself as authentic as it is. And that is why I celebrate authentic people. You could call them common, you could call them brawlish, you could call them what with your pretend self, but I celebrate them because they are authentically who they are. Really, folks, I have quite a bit to address in this edition. Standing and not doing anything when you should is a choice. Making up your mind to do something and doing it is a choice. Make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. Your choice or choices will always influence the outcome of your destiny. Be careful who you choose to associate with and support or even follow. Choices are what we make, and chances are what we take. Somewhere along the lines, folks, many people get mixed up with these two, and they forget to think through and evaluate options and take the counsel or guidance of elders or experts.
Chances occur when we navigate through unknown territories that involve an amount of uncertainty. One youngster, upon reading my promotion for today's sharing, called me up and asked me, is life determined by chance or choice? You see, some find it difficult to grasp the idea that we are responsible for what happens to us. Life is not a matter of chance, but a matter of choice. It is the effect of what we did in the past. Choice is all about shifting your mindset. It can be tempting to ride that wave of familiarity, especially if everything in your career or life is going well. But at some point, and maybe you've already experienced it, you'll decide that good isn't good enough. Perhaps you have the gnawing feeling in the pit of your stomach, telling you something needs to give. You want something more, something different, something new, even if you're not sure what it is. That's when you decide you've got to do something else. Because if you keep on doing what you're always doing, you will keep on getting what you've always got. Chance is not something that you just sit there and be able to come. No, it's not a careless thing, folks. Chance is another animal altogether. Have you been hemming and hawing about taking a leap of faith? Harboring some fear about the unknown is understandable, but don't let it paralyze you, folks. Feel the fear, but do it anyway. Remember, you have the power to choose your fear. You can either forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. Challenging yourself to leave your comfort zone helps you stretch your wings and gain new skills, experience, and confidence. You could muster up your courage to take on the challenging new assignment and expose yourself to growth. You can volunteer to lead a lunch and learn session for your department and share your strength in a particular area. You can offer to put together or deliver that new business pitch for your boss in your effort to help expand your company's portfolio and thus make you more relevant to the workplace. Still unsure about taking a chance? Ask yourself if what you're doing today is getting you closer to where you want to be tomorrow. Affirm to yourself, folks, I must be willing to do the things others will not do today that will make me have the things others will not have tomorrow. I can only accomplish this by making a choice to take a chance to accomplish that change in lifestyle. As hockey great Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Boom! You see that? You miss 100% of the shots you never take. Change sometimes gets a bad rap because it's often viewed as a disruptor. When one thing changes, others usually follow suit. But if you flip that around, you will see that change is the antithesis to the status quo. That is what obtains right now, what you take for granted. Change shakes things up and breathes new life into old methods and routines. We're forced to get out of ruts that we may not know we've been in, to view things differently with a fresh perspective. It is about envisioning what's possible, not just what is. Folks, you see how I think? I think so because I don't have distractions of the chatters on the streets. The chatters on the streets are not in my life. The chatters on the street are not integral to my lifestyle. That's why I can think like this. And that is why I'm seeing the promised land, even though it keeps moving. But that is what success does. It keeps you stretching and stretching. Folks, that said, change requires a degree of focus and intentionality. If you're seeking a true transformation, clarity is key. How could you be clear on what you want, on what you are actually aiming for in your life, if you are distracted by a lot of rubbish in your life, a lot of stupid people in your life? Well, you know, we grew up together, so what I'm gonna do? I'm stuck with him. Yeah, you must be joined at the hip at birth. You see, when you know what you want, you will better be able to map out a plan to get it. And when you can articulate it, you can effortlessly enlist the help of others to achieve it. Here's the thing about change. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you have never done. And it's not too late. As long as you're breathing, folks, you can change. You see, remember, it starts with a choice. So choose wisely. Young ladies, let's bring back the time when a woman used to get hitched to the potential of a man and not just have a man for the sake of having a man. You have to choose your men wisely for fear that you perpetuate the subculture to become a single parent. And if you had your child all on your own, it might have been better, but you needed a man to make this child. And where's the man? As soon as he slingy hook, he gone. The lack of good men in the life of any child, especially boys, contribute to the deviance we are seeing unabated in our society today. If you have not got the means to provide for yourself and your household, but you have 2 of the latest cell phones, and you are in every fete in excess of $100 with a new costly outfit as regularly as you are seen in public, etc., while you are eating the bread the devil need, and you have no electricity in your house because it got cut off, simply because of how regularly you attend to your monthly billing, or worse yet, you have to wake up extra early in the morning to drug water every morning, to wash wares, to cook, and not to mention bathe before you go to work. You are showing everyone who have eyes to see that you have your priorities messed up and you do not deserve anybody's genuine help. A matter of fact, you are truly not qualified to beg. You continue to take the chance to make a choice not to change. Do you think you understand what I mean when I say, as I have been saying for years now, if you keep on doing what you're doing, you will keep on getting what you're getting. Hey, your choice will influence the outcome of your destiny. So stop complaining about the life you choose. Hey, when we come back, I don't even know if we have a word to describe what goes beyond here. This just set the stage for what is to come. Because it's not easy, according to Mary Mitchell here. Dotishness. When you look around, everywhere is just dotishness you're seeing. Let's take a little break and we come right back with more.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe the list will be like 5 months long. Best believe his love makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for. Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come.
EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG.
Wonderful, folks. So we move on. Folks, a mistake repeated once is simply that, a mistake. There is hope that it will ignite a fire in you to learn from it, move on. That's how you gain experience, and gaining experience means growth has taken place. But a mistake repeated several times is a nasty habit. Look at how many times many of you supported that old nastiness, who has never wavered in his consistency at who he is. A downright selfish, dishonest, good for nothing, who ain't good and ain't good long. If you find yourself in that position, it means that there is little hope for you. Why would one be so content to repeat the same mistake over and over and get the same result and continue to do so when there are so many new mistakes one can make and grow from? Folks, share the live, man. Fire just start. I want to strongly suggest a mental adjustment with a spanner or brain surgery might be able to fix that which could only be diagnosed as an inherently serious disorder. Remember, priorities introduce us to a person's character. Stop blaming others and take stock. I pray and trust that everyone tuned in here today will become inspired and motivated to change that and become a better person in your own life, on your own behalf. Too many of us need to be protected from our ignorant selves that we refuse to upgrade and thus move away from. It is easy to have been conditioned to be dunce, dotish, and stupid as a means of being perpetually qualified to vote for a con man to keep him and his group of thugs in power over you, and be expected all of a sudden to be divorced from that inclination without any genuine and really meaningful work. What they say? There is no fool like an old fool. This goes back to our parenting, and it continues with our education system. When Grenada operated with structure and order, was it coincidental that parents used to train their goddamn children? No. Homes and how they functioned influenced the conduct of the greater society. Don't allow anyone to fool you to think less of the reinforcement impact schools, the church, and just civic duty members of the society have on galvanizing our people into the desired conduct to make a society fit to live in. The most inferior Grenadian today is one who volunteered to be under the spell of the old nastiness. Where did this spell put them? On his vote farm, totally colonized by that old nastiness. Could you imagine yourself being totally taken over by a bad-minded, selfish son of a gun like the old nastiness? And what do you have? Inferior to the worst. You could be just in a supermarket. You could be just in a shop down the road, driving and witnessing the behavior of people. And you either know who they support or why they support who they support. The why they support who they support expands to others too, who live by no philosophy, but to support for something in return, as against belief that that something is capable of the greater good for all. You don't have to go too far to see them. Open your social media pages and you wonder how come chaos is not visited upon greater society than the dribbles we are making all this goddamn noise about, as reported by the poor excuses and emasculated, for the most part, media talents that we have to put up with in this Spice Isle. Educated or not, we have to wonder, because the colonial style of education continues to fail us. We continue to celebrate our children just because they cram and passed an exam, an end of term or end of school exam, which probably brings them to the bachelor's, master's, and PhD levels. No need for me to pinpoint any of them for you. If you pay attention, you will be able to call names and I will only have to whistle. All for society, we can identify certificated jackasses with absolutely not even an iota of common sense, who hold on delicate and sensitive positions, keeping back this nation. You find a plethora of them in the Grenada public service. And don't talk about the private sector on a collective basis. A lot more dwell there. Happy are many of them to pose with designer this, that, and the other as material acquisitions, symbols of their success, as if to operate in a glitzy manner with the effect that the lights are on, but nobody is home. Ain't nothing going on in here. Are you surprised that many of the various government ministries and businesses and companies in the private sector are poorly led? Could you say this about Spice Island Beach Resort, Belmont Estate, Netherlands Insurance, Grenada Cooperative Bank, the National Insurance Scheme, Colco Group of the DCall third generation? This is just to name a few. I can't name everyone. No, they are properly led and they understand the importance of taking care of the whole so that they can continue to focus on who better, the customer. What is the single difference between these entities and the rest? Folks, if you pay attention, you will realize that management, leadership makes a difference. The talents that lead these entities and any successful and well-structured outfit in Grenada, they don't first concentrate on building the business because they know darn well that it is not possible if they don't first build their people. That's why they invest in their people through training. You see, people build business and businesses don't build themselves. The leadership style at any well-meaning organization or company makes their team members become people of value. And the success that others go after first follows and becomes entrenched. Too many places have bosses and all they have is the title, while too few places have leaders who have the people. You see, the colonial style of education that we still follow after 50 years of national independence must be let loose and discarded completely. Where are the sound literature that we, our people, are capable of writing, if commissioned so to do, to become the manuals for real and true development? Whose problem does it continue to be? The old rubbish system we have for an education system has got to go. And if the people who preside over it insist on keeping it and administering over it or dragging their feet to throw it, we have to let them go too. Pelt them out. Young people, hey, rise up and refuse to be a part of it. As all it can do is to stupefy you and render you as useless as many of the adults before you, from whom we choose as our leaders. What can we really expect if we do not change it? If you look around you, you will see that it is the chronically brainwashed, educated adults who are refusing to challenge the status quo, that are running things in both the public and private sectors. Folks, we have to choose between the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. I am advising you to go for the pain of discipline because it weighs ounces. The regret weighs tons and keeps you in reverse. Look at Kirani James. He's the epitome of discipline. If he were to enter a competition with many of us tuned in here right now to see who were the poorest before rising to international stardom, Kirani James would whip us going and coming. Interestingly, discipline and commitment fueled him to run. Better put, sprint from poverty into fame, and I dare say into riches. While many of us were left in the starting block. Some of us didn't even dress yet to reach the starting block. First, we're lazy. We can change that only if we make up our goddamn minds to make a choice, to take a chance, to make a desirable change. I once heard someone say, heaviest things in life are not iron and gold, but unmade desirable decisions. The reason why so many of us are stressed is because we have important decisions to make and we are not making them. We have people to let go from our lives and we are not letting them go. We have places to stop going and we are not stopping. We have people stop coming by us and we're not stopping them. We have things to stop doing and we are not. You see, we have to get our lives into alignment with our priorities. The first thing we all have to learn is to be honest with ourselves. We are seeing too many people inviting onto themselves a level of self-importance that they do not deserve. First of all, they have no self-confidence, but they want to graduate to self-importance. What is that? Their ego playing tricks with them and telling them they are all that. And so they walk around as if they are chips with dip. All these people do is invite ridicule onto themselves. They never have the impact they set out to deliver on society and become relegated to the back, where many in the society see them as a character and not having character, just because they are not aware enough to change themselves. Folks, it is better to have character than to be just regarded as a character. In our culture, we all know what people mean when they say you are a character. Too many people show us that they're not serious about changing their life. You want to know how I know that? They find excuses instead of investing their time in finding a way. What they do not realize is that excuses make day easy, but tomorrow harder. Discipline, on the other hand, makes today harder, but tomorrow, oh la la, so a breeze. Ask Kirani James and he will tell you. Wasn't he piss poor yesterday? Look at him today, after he remained consistent, using discipline as his vehicle to drive him into another life. Mothers who mean well for their children, especially young adult sons, in the absence of a father figure, would always tell you they, the young adult sons, are always complaining about their life, but need to be reminded that they are not a victim. They're usually incapable of facing their ambitions, and they blame their mother for it, even if their mother is not the one to put them where they are. They have nothing to do with it. They are never making any worthy sacrifices because they are afraid that pride does not help them either. Then alas, they wake up and they are 40, nothing to show for it. They are usually the ones to win. They are petrified by their own low standards and their fear of fame. That's the truth. Folks, look at our society today. We have to face it, that our society gets its life from us, the people. We, the families, and our tendency towards structure and order, or the very lack thereof, which is mostly popular in Grenada. A lack of structure and a lack of order. What is our true scenario today? We have loads of people who have been bearers of children but not nurturers of them. They have absolutely nothing to offer them by way of social transmission. Many of the people who would wish to be considered parents by virtue of them having given birth to a child or children are simply not fit. They tend to grow them up as if they are friends and companions, and that is where this lack of boundaries become a breeding ground for disrespect and all that goes with the contempt we are witnessing as a daily course. You, as a youth, have not received much parental coaching to bless you with an appreciation for values in life that would make you fit for life and fit to live with. But guess what? You now brought someone into this world and you want to call yourself parent just because you make a child. You have nothing much, and in many cases absolutely nothing to give, but you are mother and father. The male parent most of the time is like a fisherman, slinging his hook all over while he keeps moving from pillar to post without any regard for standing up and taking seriously his responsibilities as a parent. After all this dysfunction, and the society continues to let down its guard, the repercussions start to take effect, and our police get blamed. Could you imagine? That could never be fair. This kind of wildness dates back a good 30 years, and we must realize that badness in society is not relegated to a corner or other of any society, far less ours. It is evenly distributed throughout every strata. I always tell people, if 40% of our population happen to be dishonest, and I'm not saying that's the case because the number could very well be higher. This means 40% of preachers and religious leaders will be dishonest. 40% of doctors, lawyers, policemen and policewomen, politicians, teachers, union leaders, nurses, public officers, etc., et al. Will be dishonest. See, the 40% doesn't stand on its own. So if we have an increasing number of deviant youth, especially male, then negative effects will be felt hard and strong. Did the police in Grenada cause that? The 3 reported incidents, to include the alleged escaped jailhouse prisoners from the South St. George police station lockup, the alleged kidnapping and possible murder of 2 American yachties, to the gunshot being fired in the downtown market on a busy Friday, to the alleged police and bandit shootout in the Grandance Vendors Market during a busy cruise ship day, are all incidents that, if they can be verified indeed, should not be surprising at all. Hey, ask people who know me closely how long ago I've been saying this. The high level of dunceness in our society, demonstrated by the abjectly and abysmally low level of reasoning, which was foisted on this society by extremely poor, abysmally poor leadership from 1995 to 2022, for the most part, on top of which the disheveling of society by the generally lawless inclination of our people are all contributors to where we find ourselves today. The norm back then was to reward people, anyone who would support that old nastiness, regardless as to whether their behavior was good, acceptable, or bad. And don't talk about if they could read or write or not. That didn't matter. Another incontrovertible fact: Lest you forget. I hear some people saying, least you forget. Lest you forget. This old nastiness was the most vulgar lawbreaker Grenada ever had as a leader who intercepted the work of the police and always obstructed them in their duties with regular phone calls because of the political fallout of their lawful actions. And what happened eventually? The police started thinking about the likely political fallout and allowed everything to go south to where we are today. Stop blaming the goddamn police for our deviant children that you negligent and I dare say unqualified parents never had the capacity to train, showing yourselves up as not fit to bring children into this goddamn world. Take responsibility. Look at the behavior in the video of supporting sentiments for the bad behavior on Friday last against the police doing their work. Folks, there's a video. There's a video recording of the entire situation that happened in Van Dance on Friday. And if the police should take its lead from international law enforcement agencies, you know what they would do. A team, a special team would be assigned to review the said video carefully with a view to pulling in every single one who attempted to obstruct the police in their line of duty. The level of lawlessness that we are seeing today did not start 9 p.m. on the 23rd of June, 2022, after the results of last elections. In the same way, the hospital facilities and the terrible service meted out to the nation with a lack of this, that, and the other at those facilities nationwide, and the absence of caring people to take care of our people on a consistent basis did not start then too. Look at our education system that continues to churn out certificated young people who move on to their bachelors and masters, most of whom return to Grenada and enter the working environment totally devoid of common sense and any associated capacity, competency, and capabilities to really give value for money that they demand and are actually paid. Look at the level of entitlement which has morphed into total dependency in our society today. Where the hell did that come from? Obviously, the many of you who have this nasty habit of not paying attention. And just because something has started to affect you, in addition to the envy and the jealousy you feel for all your contemporaries that have left you and grown way beyond your capacity and competency, you're looking for someone to blame other than the creator of the culture of handouts, which stunted the growth and development of our people for all of the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part. That old nastiness that many of you love. Those are what? Incontrovertible facts. And that is why many of you get angry, because you find yourself cocooned in that category, supporting that crap. Calling all you out. You're all too goddamn wicked. I used to say you're all stupid. You're stupid. You're wicked. Because the more that nastiness lies for you, is the more you ignited. Your wickedness is criminal for this country. Folks, stop underestimating the terrible effect your negligence has contributed to, which results in the total decadence you object to today, which some of you foolishly want to rest at the feet of this new administration. Out of place. The decay is systemic. The so-called fourth estate dropped the ball, and many of its players allowed themselves to be absorbed by the old nastiness for 30 pieces of silver. Don't have to look too far to know who they are, as they continue to play the tune of the piper that pays them long after the piper is gone, even though they can see the writing on the wall that he gone and he not coming back. Over the years, we have seen how some people in our print and electronic media abandoned their true role and became absorbed by an authority led by an element who displayed nothing but consistency at being diabolical, not good and not good long. All of you who never paid attention do not have any right to sit back today and allow this national nasty party operatives posing as media to continue to influence your minds to think along the same lines as you thought, just from the opposite end today, as they try to attribute all the nastiness and wrongs of their paymaster to this spanking new administration, which they saw nothing wrong with when the old nastiness was committing them against decent citizens unabated. Look at how our local media evolved today. The few who traveled or migrated actually escaped. For if they remained here, they may have either become absorbed or beholden to the old nastiness, pivoting into practicing mercenaries. Or if they were stronger, like the very few among them, they may have morphed into fighters against the old nastiness, losing their way in the realm of objectivity, a necessary ingredient for any member of the media to be taken seriously. New blood is needed in this profession of journalism to bring back its one-time nobility. People need to graduate to the level where, like me, they can ignore them all. Don't read them, don't listen to them, don't look at them. Grenada needs a new crop of journalists. The best writer as a journalist on island for all times is none other than Hamlet Mark, and I tell him so. I may not agree with some of his products, but I am objective enough to appreciate his style and suave with the pen. I enjoy his productions and even his television news packaging. I want to recommend that he, Hamlet Mark, together with Dr. Kellen Bob, son of the soil who lectures in journalism in the United States, and maybe a celebrated English teacher for syntax, spelling, grammar, etc., should be co-opted to conduct an introductory crash course of a week or two duration and expose young, fresh minds with an interest in journalism in context of the new construct where social media dominates. This can be polished off with a personal development, motivation, and development, social skills component. I am certain this will hit the reset button for the profession and allow the old out-of-timing geezers who love the old nastiness to proceed on to diamond, to take notes and disseminate the garbage they regularly spew under suspicion that they collect pittance to so distribute. I make absolutely no apology for deeply believing that the current crop of local journalists leave much to be desired for the most part. Many of them have shown us how they have lost their way, and because they cannot be taken seriously in most, if not all, areas of expectations of the fourth estate, they should be totally ignored, sidelined, in other words. Sad but true. Hey, your choice will influence the outcome of your destiny. Stop complaining about the life you choose. Stop it. Cut it out. Let's take a little break and we'll come back with more fire.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGD. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the country cold store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, or chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, country cold store, for being there for us for 40 years.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed, forged in fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 up.
Higher. Going higher. We aspire. Build up ourselves, put people together. Bang, bang, bang. It's only up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
All right, folks. Hey, you notice I had to take a little break. I forgot my little, my rag, because I'm just getting steamy in the corner here. Folks, these are serious things. We have, Mr. Edwin Haley, the QC, God bless his soul. He's at rest, eternal rest now. This man used to tell me Grenada is not a state. Grenada is in a state. For how long this man dead? And this man used to tell me that a long time now. Well, it's in a worse state today, thanks to the old nastiness that many of you love. I don't know how you could love this idiot. Welcome back. Could you imagine the old nastiness in reference to the current criminal escalation in the midst, in our midst right now, with the use of firearms calling for strong and decisive leadership guided by action and empathy? This geezer knows anything about empathy? Folks, empathy means putting yourself in another person's position. In this way, you understand how they feel. When he was using his tenure at the helm to hurt people just because they had an alternative preference to that of following him and his nonsense, he did not know he must have empathy. When he was using his position of power to mash up all institutions in the country during all the period 1995 to 2020 for the most part, where was his empathy? I tell you all already that he's nothing but an old nastiness. He says the things that you want to hear, and you realize he is not sincere. He's an old liar, a dirtiness, a stinker. That's all he is. That provoking people with his regularity of presence all over the place, aided and abetted by those other nastinesses posing as media in Grenada. This is distressing, you know. The distressing events he referred to, where did they come from? Did his administration use any national funds to invest in modern screening equipment for our ports of entry that he is calling for today to stem the flow of illegal guns into our market? Or was he busy using the National Treasury as a feeding trough to distribute free money to continuously capture people for his vote farm? Do you remember when his administration was alleged to have taken all the money Trinidad and Tobago's government granted this nation to purchase a new Coast Guard and pay salaries with it, or something as mundane as that? Who saw to it that our Coast Guard Division of the Royal Grenada Police Force only had a couple of air-pumped pontoons as Coast Guard vessels for all of his tenure in office as Prime Minister over this nation's affairs. Every opportunity this old nastiness gets, he's talking about the police force, which he single-handedly decimated and had all the time to do so from 1995 to 2022 for the most part. Everybody should know that the old nastiness, his old modus operandi to be a lawbreaker, did not allow him any room to not be in total command of the police force. How does that make every police officer who received the nod to be positioned integrally on the management team of the Royal Grenada Police Force under his tenure, how does that make you feel? You couldn't feel good if you're honest. That revelation and reality could never make any of them feel good, especially as their appointment was never attached to merit, and that old nastiness talking about merit today. The kind of person I am would never have allowed me to accept any such appointment from this old nastiness, as I believe in merit and not in favors. You see, whatever I receive must be able to last and not be dependent on whim and fancy of any decrepit individual. This old stinker wants to talk about engaging communities, strengthening laws and the judiciary, and developing our youth as a means of fighting the recent crime scourge. Balderdash. What did he do to those three elements while he was in office? You ever know a lawbreaker? A man that you could probably find if you only type in wrongthings.com or wrongthings.org, being able to strengthen any laws? For who to enforce? The same decimated police force that he handpicked left-handed goons to function in senior positions, left, right, and center. I tell all you to pay attention. If you were paying attention, the old nastiness would not be able to take you and form the ass with you today. Thank God I paid attention. And just like how nastiness ain't good and ain't good long, I have been paying attention and paying attention long. When the old nastiness elected the last Commissioner of Police, Mr. Edwin Martin, I would have you know he was already identified by the Public Service Commission selection between 2008 and 2013 as the future Commissioner of Police. Who was in office then? The Tillman Thomas administration. He had his last master's degree that he wanted to complete, and that declaration to the panel prevented him somewhat from being appointed back then. Lest we forget, not least we forget, like the old idiot they have on their side, lest we forget that when Mr. Martin was selected and appointed the Commissioner of Police, that was an appointment that met with national approval. It gave us some hope as a people. The enthusiasm and passion with which it was received soon waned when words started to reach out that that was a sham. Who was really in charge of when Conman appointed this well-qualified figurehead for public consumption? Who was in charge? According to the utterances of the old nastiness, we who have sense must ask him how the force could get so bad in 20 short months after the last election. The police force had no succession planning under the old nastiness, because his method was always to parachute anyone who supported him to high positions, whether or not they could read and write or have a sense of reasoning. Capacity, competence, and capability were never factored in. As long as you were known to be loyal and could be used as a puppet by the grandmaster puppeteer, that old nastiness was, you will get the job. How many times Commissioner Martin took ill, which many of us suspected had to do with the stress ignited by his disappointment that he could not function properly as a real commissioner of police under that old nastiness. Let the old nastiness tell all you who called the ASP and directed them to remove all police security from the local resident judges after the pension judgment came out that he believed could harm his campaign and derail his chances for re-election. Ask him. Even if the Commissioner of Police ordered them back, the ASP's orders could very well have been no way. They were never returned. I told you already, this lawbreaker could never have allowed the police force to operate independently because they would have found too many occasions to sanction him. And so it was necessary for him to have total charge over the force by positioning his loyal paputans in place. Within recent time, and during this Deacon Mitchell administration's tenure, because of lack of succession planning of the police force, quite a number of the senior officers are coming up for retirement. Yet you can hear this old geezer saying people are leaving the force in droves because they are not happy. Another lie. What kind of man is that, in truth? Every time he opens his mouth is some old lie. He is so despicable. And to think among you had that kind of low crop of element around the precincts of leadership in and over this country for so goddamn long. Something had to be wrong with all you, in truth. Every time he opens his mouth is a lie. He has been so consistent with that. And yet for all many of you still follow him, continue to follow him, to cause him to make an ass of you. This takes me back to the time when members of the A-Team, Winston White and Dr. Keith Braveboy of blessed memory, and Ren Benjamin and others tried to advise the old nastiness of the difference between governance and being in government. What he is reported to have said, forget that, man, forget that. We go govern, we go govern. Don't worry about the governance, we go govern. You don't find that song like him? Rachifi. He had absolutely no interest in governance. I really have to hurry up and bring this new updated edition of the biography of a thief. I really had to hurry up and bring that. I can hear and see too much of a known old thief provoking decent citizens with nonsense on a regular basis. It is high time our nation's youthful population just started to pay attention, get to know through this updated biographic sketch who is really a thief and who to avoid and stay clear of in their midst. We have sectioned this bastard of a thief and all other thieves and pushed them back in their holes. You see, if only enough of you know and understand that old thief is responsible for the state things are in among us, you will never tolerate that old thief coming to criticize anything, but instead make demands on that old thief to tell us why they are the way they are. But we live in a country where similarly, the old nastiness single-handedly destroyed all institutions of which the police and the public service are integral. And both institutions reflect the worst of his dismantling, but want to come and make statement with some affected accent in a poorly edited audio delivery, as if badness started 9 p.m. on the night he got his old ass crushed at the polls by a rookie on 23rd June 2022. He is the architect of badness. And a lot among you ain't see badness yet. If you used to be paying attention, you would not be acting as if you are so surprised today that badness is finally coming home to roost. Cut it out. Stop pretending. The badness has been fermenting, aided and abetted by a lot of you. When you see people who you know do not derive an income from their active presence on social media, always quick to post negative rubbish and hate, not to mention jump under other people's posts looking for confusion. You know these idiots are broke. These are the people who fit the description, misery loves company. These are the people who the old nastiness and his wench of a faceless, nameless monster find easy to attract, to join them in their quest to see if they can regain consciousness after the cuttass at the polls and the public ridicule they receive as a matter of course from inside and outside their national nasty party. Hello, your choice will influence the outcome of your destiny, folks. Stop complaining about the life you choose. Give up choosing to stay with the old nastiness, and I'm sure you will experience a new and better life. Let's take a little break and we'll come back for more fire just before we take off.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family. Every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with pushing fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, up, and more. Going up, up, ever higher. Moving higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, one people together.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. And of course, you know, I have reached, well, it's just the 5th segment here. So just before I take off, I have to share this with you. But it's so interesting that we got so accustomed to this old clacker coming and address, and you can't find any philosophical phrase, anything of sound value that you could quote him on today, except things like, me damn money, I sorry he didn't give me more, I just take long to come, Bula man, and all them kind of nasties. That's all you could hear coming out of his mouth. But you had leading citizens in the country supporting that. Pastors, pastresses, priests, leaders of churches supporting that commonness. What does that tell you, folks? The society gone to hell in a handbasket. And he's a strong enough diabolical leader to have carried church leaders with him to hell. That is to tell you. He carried a lot of people that we used to look up to. I had a fellow that I used to consider mentor material, whom he was able to absorb. Totally disappointing. What does that tell you? I had to be damn strong for that idiot to never be able to pull me into his web. Isn't that something? But I'll tell you something, notwithstanding how much he tried, there were people that were my friends, foreigners who were my friends. You can go and ask them. I never one day accepted a gift from them. You know why? I feared that it was the introduction of purchasing me. But you know what is interesting? A lot of those same people were in local gatherings when the local sycophants, all the jackasses whom he managed to take hell with him, were in discussion referring to me as a mercenary. Because God is taking care of me, making sure my standard of living and quality of life never dropped. I was still operating at the level that I grew accustomed to. I'm a mercenary. I'm taking money from people. And you know what? God is good. God planted those same people whom I used to refuse gifts from to do what? To straighten them out because they were in the forum. Don't you think that what I just told you is powerful, you know, folks, beyond measure? Go and ask those people today. We are close, because they have the greatest respect and highest regard for me. Come, help me empty my ears of all the beggars that these same people found themselves being harassed by. I never wanted to be one of those in their mouths. Because when I listened to how disparaging they spoke of those people, sometimes I watch them, you know, folks, that's one of the reasons why I cannot and will not accept invitations to go anywhere. Because I know too much. And when I go, I find myself focused on all that I know. And I'm looking at all the pretend people, the pretend characters, good people, playing this and playing that, and begging to continue to play this and play that. Isn't that something? Folks, we live in a fake society. Trust me. Fake society. All how they're playing this, playing that. See them with foil in their hand going when they finish with a party. As though they have a kitchen at home. As though their kitchen burned down. It's sad. When they get invited somewhere, they go with their belly in their hand. Because they think that is how they're supposed to go. We have people now, you know, too little crime place. Oh, God forbid. None should have taken place. But a lot of you recalcitrant parents, people that are not fit to be parents, you're getting nice dog and you're training them, but you're tying them up and keeping them home. But you're not training your children and you're letting them loose on society to come and wreak havoc on the society. And you want to be joining people on Facebook and social media to blame police. Go and train your goddamn children. Take responsibility and cut the bull crap. Before I leave, let me share this with you. Folks, we all have our rights as enshrined in a mama guy and papi show constitution order constructed by our colonial masters that have all of us where they, the colonials, want us, continually subjected to them. It is designed to hold us back and keep us in check. You think they don't know what they are doing when they constructed those things? Joke you making? They know. They know that we are not constructed as a people to follow rules. This inherent lack of ability to follow rules, structure, and order is what will breed the chaos we experience is coming out of us having a constitution where our rights trump all. And for many people, these rights are more important than even oxygen that they breathe. Look at how we love to talk about our rights as if we could feed and nourish ourselves with them, pay our rent and mortgage with them, take care of our health and educate ourselves with them, and even take care of our families. One person who is a tenant told me recently that it is her right to live somewhere, and if she can't pay the rent, the landlord has no right to put her out. I told her it's the right of the homeless man, she knows, to be homeless, and no one has the right to help him out of his right to be homeless. She looked at me. Why did I say that? I said, you'll figure it out. Folks, it's your right to be stupid, and it is the right of everybody else to treat you accordingly. My intention is not to minimize the importance of rights at all. In fact, it is to get us to keep an open mind and expand our focus to the other important things of life, which therefore requires us to strike a balance. Strike a balance. It is not, life is not just about rights. You cannot be living in a place where, if it were not for the generosity of your relatives and friends abroad, you would die without the regular receipt of a barrel and some financial remittances. I once heard someone say, people that are miserable in their own home lives are always looking for an opportunity to destroy yours. And so they latch on to something that could have mass appeal, to appear to be championing, to grab your attention, to sink you to their level. This is why we need balance, folks, to be protected from the confused who pose as activists with a cause, and the vultures who pose as politicians and tell us that they love the defenseless, poor and vulnerable, while they preside over policies that create more poor and vulnerable to populate their vote farm, to keep them in power over the same poor and vulnerable they say they love. We need balance, and not to be overburdened by ill-intentioned political gangsters pushing us in the direction of rights while they feed us on a long peel. So we continue to agitate on their behalf while our standard of living and quality of life remain the same or even worsen consistently from the day we came into this world. Folks, civil liberties have to be left alone and remain untouched by politicians. But only responsible citizens understand this. We have to make sure we educate people during a period of transition from the dark old days of the old nastiness and his faceless, nameless monster of a wench throwing crumbs to the masses to qualify them for his vote farm, while they, the masses, remain in the perpetual state of poor and vulnerable, as he likes to call them. If it means some civil liberties have to take a hit, so that true north progress is made in the lives of our people, so be it. Look at the people of the Scandinavian countries. Look at the people of Singapore today. Did parents and grandparents make some serious sacrifice? Oh yes. They made serious sacrifices for the current generation to be enjoying spoils of a great standard of living and quality of life today. Always remember, folks, you will never be alive to be aided by the tree you plant today. Do your part to make your society a better one than the one you met. Young people, I make absolutely no apology for the truth as reflected by my local history, that the People's Revolutionary Government, the PRG, was the only administration in our post-independence era that came closest to meeting and exceeding its mandate to deliver true and genuine development to our people. There was no mama guy and papi colonial constitution under which they operated. Yes, people's rights were violated here and there, but what did they get in exchange for it? Protection from themselves and their love for projecting rights as if it were food. Improvement in their education and expansion in scholarships abroad to study medicine, engineering, accounts, finance, economics, etc. The beginnings of proper health care for this country. A refocus on agriculture and agro-industries. The beginnings of a strong and meaningful way forward for tourism through the construction of an international airport. The introduction of a viable social safety net to take care of the needs of retired people through the introduction of the National Insurance Scheme. Folks, the list is exhaustive. No government following and before the PRG in context of post-independence was ever able to achieve any of these or similar. But there was the resumption of the constitution of the colonials after 1983. Our rights were so important that we preferred to safeguard them than to find that real balance and be able to continue to lift our standard of living and quality of life. All we seem bent on is rights. I know someone who is in the vanguard touting rights here, there, and everywhere, whose private life, a hot mess, is better than living off of what people can give them, mouth loud as all hell, but lives in virtual squalor. Something has got to be wrong with that picture, but rights are right up there and ahead of oxygen for them, while they can hardly feed themselves. Find a balance. That is why some people need to make a choice to take a chance to make the necessary change in their lives. Folks, I believe that it is likely to take a miracle to turn Grenada around after the old nastiness was given such a long time to preside over its complete destruction. Many of us are still blessed and continue to receive blessings for our deeds over the years, while others can only reap what they sowed and crying foul. It would take a miracle for them to receive anything other than they receive for their transgressions. I believe it is instructive for me to explain the difference between a blessing and a miracle. You see, while a blessing and a miracle bring benefits to situations in our lives that we appreciate God dealing with, a blessing requires cooperation. A miracle does not. A miracle is where God trumps everything to make something good happen that you can't help. In the case of a blessing, if you are not cooperating, then you are missing the blessing. If Grenadians are not prepared to cooperate with God, we will never receive the blessings we need and deserve right now. That is why we may need a miracle instead. And all we have to do is just pray and trust that God intends to provide a miracle to us. The busk-like manner in which many of our deviant citizens are behaving, not to mention the rabid nature of all their uneducated goons who lost their way since June 23rd, 2022, and who may never be able to find their way because of their loyalty to the old nastiness and not Grenada, should not be surprised. You should not be surprised at what is happening in the country today. It is because they made up their minds not to make a choice, to take a chance, take a change. They will continually be in the position they are in today. Imagine you have advocates out there on a limb, make noise. But before they go and make noise live, they have to go down to the gas station and snack it to buy breakfast. When they go home in the night, they have to pass by the gas station and snack it and check up the little change, disturbing other people who want to pay, taking long to check up the little 25s as if they're selling fudge. And these are the people advocating for an alternative this administration. You didn't see something had to be wrong with all you that's supporting what they support? Something wrong with all you retarded. Have to be. You see, I want you all to know, folks, just to bring some consciousness to you, to remind you that when a ship, any ship for that matter, is traveling in a particular direction and the captain receives command to turn around, that ship never turns on a dime all at once. The ship continues in the same direction, and because of the velocity and its weight, the ship continues in the same direction and gradually makes the turnaround until at last it is able to be propelled totally in the new direction. The loop it makes is called the drag. Sometimes it's an entire semicircle. Let us face it, for all of the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part, Grenada was going in a direction under the captaincy of that old nastiness while traveling in some tempestuous storms and really bad seas. It's only 4 months shy of 2 years now since change of direction was ordered by the majority of people who voted. Should we expect a complete turnaround of the ship of state from almost 30 years of travel with a captain that lacked vision and commitment to the development of people, the very set people who got accustomed to the way things were run and who grew to think that is how things are to be? I should think not. We are still in the drag and are likely to be in the drag for a long time. To match the length of time we were misled, misdirected, decimated, pillaged, ransacked, and just totally disheveled. The foolishness of the immediate past will continue as long as it takes for the ship to turn around. People have got to be right positioned and in some cases dismissed. Some will retire in the process and will suffer no deserved pain. It won't be easy for both the decimated police force and public service to be turned around with a serious reform. So don't let that piece of trash, that old nastiness and his goons who have Grenada in the terrible state we all find ourselves, to come and attempt to fool you with lies and nonsense. Lies and nonsense. I'm tired telling all you he ain't good and he ain't good long. Hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. Come on, folks, put that in the comment section. Hashtag, let us affirm it. Let us manifest it. And let us order it through the forces of the universe. Hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. Didn't you hear him speak? He oiled his mouth to speak in style recently on the issue of crime. This is the same man who uses that same foul mouth to spew slackness and commonness, calling decent citizens bullaman, and spout lies minute by minute. He's the same close to 80-year-old devil that needs to be put in his goddamn place constantly so that he could take the rest he is avoiding. Every time I have sight of him or reference is made to me of anything he says, I cannot help but ascribe his correct name to him, that old nastiness. You see, when this old geezer can be allowed by the negligent population to hold its youth hostage for nearly 30 years, what can you expect of the same youth today? Who have them so? The old nastiness has his millions and was feeding them from the National Treasury $800 per month while turning them into virtual retards. Folks, as I close here today, I want to share with you some of my knowledge, which I have accumulated by reading. Oh, to the power of reading. You should try it and you'll realize how much power it will have to help you damage your state of ignorance. I learned that there is a stark difference between a democracy and a republic, and can only conclude that we should strive to become a republic. The sooner, the better. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality, while the ideal of constitutional republic is individual liberty. But you see, a republic has a duty to educate its people so that they can be qualified to receive individual liberty. A democracy for sure always degenerates into dictatorship, which promises government guaranteed equality and security, but delivers nothing but poverty and serfdom to the people it robs and rules. The old nastiness knows this only too well. A constitutional republic is formed to safeguard the liberties of the people against the tyranny of democracy or the one-man dictatorship. Grenada should become a constitutional republic and leave this mamagai and papi show democracy nonsense alone. If we continue getting and attracting people of no character to our politics, we will always be programmed to degenerate into dictatorships, where the show belongs to the ruler who you choose under the guise of one man, one vote. We have to remind our leaders throughout the ambit of society what Jack Welch said, quote, "When you were made a leader, you were not given a crown. You were given the responsibility to bring out the best in others," unquote. Folks, the person or people you follow have a great impact on your mental health than your doctor. Trust me. And that is why you must act accordingly. I invite all of you to become harder to manipulate, so the manipulators, like all of mine in the past, would tell people you have become selfish. When you make up your mind, folks, always remember to be an educated person. You will never consider yourself educated just by memorizing how many Grenadians were terrorized at the hands of the old nastiness. But instead, you will be educated when you understand how many of you said nothing because you were convinced that it was required. Education is learning how not to allow history to repeat itself. Folks, your choice will influence the outcome of your destiny. Stop complaining about the life you choose. Change it. I'm in, I'm out, and I am gone. See you next week, God willing, for more extraordinary program. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant and lifted. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. Subscribe, like, and or share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamin as straight up as I deliver them. I just pray and trust this year will be a great one for you. Notwithstanding the challenges and all the nonsense you're hearing from sore losers, it is up, up, up. And parents, stop blaming the police and the government. Train your goddamn children. I'm finished. Y'all have a good one. Today, I ain't lying, boy. I wish I get paid because I work hard. Real hard. Isn't that interesting? But I can tell you, I enjoyed it. I get a kick from controversy, you know, folks. I've been doing this all of 38 years. I'm into my 39th. I'm enjoying it. Can't you feel it?
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy, For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the country cold store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, country cold store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.EDDIE-FICATION now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.EDDIE-FICATION.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island. Best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters. Friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 and more. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up. Higher. Going higher. As we smile, build up a touch for people together. Bang, bang, bang. Slowly up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick.